Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Serai. I will be introducing our panelists this afternoon, where we will be talking about the Paris Agreement, okay? And this is more specifically about the infrastructure within the renewable energies, okay? And from why we have chosen this specific topic for the Energies 2050, because I'm sure that everyone is aware that the Paris Agreement is one of the most important documents which has been signed, supported by the international community. And this is for, I will say, for 3, 5, 6 decades, okay? And we are putting the emphasis on the renewable energies because I'm sure all of us, we know that the energy is very important in our life, in our everyday life, okay? To start with, I am introducing Pamela, who is going to make a presentation about AkzoNobel and talking about the strategy and the philosophy and the approach of AkzoNobel to the Paris Agreement, to the energy and to the carbon issues.
Thank you, Nicole. So good afternoon, everyone. So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Pamela. I'm looking after the business of Vietnam, Singapore, and Indochina, mainly the emerging market. And as you see, the awareness of energy reduction and energy preservation is very important for all these growing economies. So before I start, let me introduce you to a movie from AkzoNobel and to show you how dedicated we are towards energy preservation.
Estimates suggest over 65% of the world's population will live in cities by 2050. This will put huge pressure on essential resources and services, such as housing, sanitation, and education. It's up to all of us to meet these challenges. At AkzoNobel, we're putting our products and expertise to work in the engine of urban design. This includes schools, hospitals, roads, and transport networks. We're also helping urban communities to grow and prosper through our Human Cities program. For example, we're revitalizing the center of Favela in Brazil, and are safeguarding the heritage of one of Singapore's most historically significant buildings. Our hope is that Ecosil, no matter how large, will be a vibrant, inspiring, and sustainable place to
Can I
live.
call you in 15 minutes? In 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Thank you all. Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about AkzoNobel's strategy. How do we want to move towards a carbon neutral future? Okay. Where is the? Oh. So, first of all, in AkzoNobel, we develop our sustainability strategy according to the global trends around the sustainability elements. So, we know that we specifically look at the trends that are going to impact the key market segments by 2050. So to draw our focus of our design and innovation, as well as how do we produce our product and how do we bring our product to including the application of the product by the end user. So from the global trend, we know that these are the major elements that is going to impact the market. Climate change, which is why we are here today, population growth, and not just the population growth, is the whole urbanization wave that not population are growing, but people are moving much faster from rural area into the city. And when they move into the city, they start competing for resources. And that is why the whole subject matter of energy preservation. And among all these, all the natural ingredients and all the natural resources are becoming less and less. And we have to be very conscious about that, you know, to really not to deprive our next generation. In AkzoNobel, you can see that we are currently 40% in using renewable energy. And I'm very proud and happy that the corporate strategy tells us that we will be 100% renewable, using renewable energy, and will be carbon neutral by 2050. So this is indeed in our DNA of trying to deliver and doing more with less. Now, you can see currently 50% of the AkzoNobel product is delivering sustainability benefits to our customers, and more than 20% of our product is actually leading in sustainability benefits in the market. So from now till 2020, there will be €1 billion investment in R&D, just focusing only on innovation that is going to preserve energy and that is surrounding sustainability. Sustainability is business for AkzoNobel, and we truly believe that any innovation that surrounds and builds on sustainability is going to create very strong consumer pool. It's not just, it's not an afterthought. So you can see that for AkzoNobel, it is all about creating a long-term value on sustainability. Our sustainability strategy is multifold. So first of all, we are mandated that 20% of the company revenue will have to come from sustainable innovation. Within our value chain, the way we work and we produce the product, we will have to drive 30% more efficiency in the way we manage our supplier, in the way we manage our raw material, in the way we manage our production. And of course, people, you know, 4 out of 5 people will have to be fully engaged and capable people. So sustainability is not just about products, it's not just about the way, but it is also managing the whole capability and move the people together with us. If you look at the value chain across the whole carbon footprint across our value chain, you can see that the biggest problem is not in our supply chain. Over here, I see 15%, but that is a total company. If you look at decorative business itself, it is only 5%, right? But you can see the critical mass is sitting in the raw material side as well as our customer side. So it is therefore very important to manage the footprint with our suppliers. So we will have to get out of the company and start holding hands, start collaborating with our partners, and not just with ourselves. And on the front end of the chain where our customer is concerned, because we deal with a lot of curing product, in-factory curing and application, and those are also very energy rich. And it is therefore very, very critical to make sure we also innovate forward. So the carbon intensity in our own scope is low. However, it is therefore very important to collaborate with our suppliers. So in this case, it is very essential that we work in a very open innovation with our key stakeholder. And by key stakeholder, I refer to our supplier, the academia agency, the government, the policy maker, as even with our competition. Because we cannot stand alone and be closed door. Without an open innovation, the company do not believe that we can actually achieve a carbon zero or even a carbon neutral future. So in this case, we actually develop a vendor audit program where we constantly and regularly visit our supplier and do a full strategy review with our supplier and picking out innovative area where we can actually collaborate and bring down the carbon footprint. It helps our supplier and it also helps ourselves. And of course, more than that, it helps all our customer on downstream. Sustainability is business again, right? So it is actually very important that we have a reliable and sustainable power. Energy is very vital for our industry. We are a chemical manufacturer, right? And it already makes out almost 80% of our variable costs. So we will be completely exposed and at risk if we do not ensure we have a affordable and continuous stream of energy that is sustaining our business. So in this case, to us, it is very important to find way to provide affordable and continuous energy. Otherwise, that will be a big risk to the profitability and the survival of the company. So if you can see, energy is our single biggest expenditure, right? And then keeping costs down and through collaboration, it is fundamentally critical. So to us, it is about time, and it's already with the urgency that we will have to invest in looking for sources and partners to create new energy, which is in an affordable way. So you can see that by having a strategy that is based around energy, we will be able to build a diversified and green energy portfolio. So we not only want to face the future, but we also wanted to grow together with the future. AkzoNobel is very proud that we are leading a consortium of a Dutch company that includes DSM, Google, and Philips. And we are signing a long-term power purchase agreement. And it is going to develop two very large Dutch wind farms that is going to be able to supply power for more than 140,000 households. So that will be, so you can therefore imagine that it is a commitment by the company on energy preservation. And this is also another classic demonstration that we are doing open innovation. We are walking out of our own gate and start holding hand with our partners, and industry experts to collaborate openly. This is Ashington plant. It is our latest plant. It is very high tech. It is a state-of-the-art factory. And in this latest factory, it uses renewable energy sources. And you can see that it is a factory that is fully automated, that saves water, energy, and waste. So the product that is generated from this factory reduces up to 50% of the carbon footprint compared to the factory that is replacing. So in this case, we create transformation that unlock shared values. And in this case, there are three areas that AkzoNobel focus. One is on environment, to create a zero carbon emission. Second one is on social, to ensure our customers and ourselves to choose and opt for low emission, low VOC product. And lastly, on the economy part is to achieve zero waste with 100% renewable energy. So again, I will say, sustainability is not an afterthought. Sustainability is a strategy in AkzoNobel. not just in product design. And I think this presentation kind of showcase to you on the way we actually manages our process and our production. Yeah. So, thank you all. And in closing, I will just encourage that to go towards carbon neutral, low carbon, or even zero carbon. We will have to walk out of our own arena. We have to start holding hand with various partners in the industry, and in order to improve the environment globally. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pamela. It was a great presentation, but I would like to ask you one question. I know you are the international director. I know you are the head of sustainability. I heard you too many times. You are good. You know what you are doing, very professional. But I have a question. From your own perspective,
Yep.
forget that you are a part of the AkzoNobel, including that you know everything about AkzoNobel, you know the philosophy, you know everything. What do you have, and be honest, yeah? Or do you have something which you say, I would like them to do this, or to do more? So do you think what AkzoNobel is doing now is exactly what the world, the environment, the health, the design, yeah? But do you think there are some other things you want or you wish them to do?
Nicole, very, very good question. You know, actually in a very large corporate, you know, strategy is one thing. What is very important is that whole communication and the whole engagement of that strategy. You know, and for me, I can't stress enough is to communicate downwards into the final ground in the organization. You know, because there are so many tiers of people that is doing things, executing things in their best way. You know, but sustainability is an agenda that all will have to embrace. You know, but I think it's a different definition for different people. So it is so critical that we all are united in talking in one voice. You know, and so I really can't stress enough. For me, is encourage the company leaders to continue to advocate and continue to move forward on this agenda without faltering. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm sure you know as much as I know, and everybody and most women are here, that during the last now 10 years, that, sorry for the gentleman, yeah, the last 10 years the UN has been working in the strategy of empowerment of women. As a woman who is leading all these, you know, strategies, working on a global scale and being ahead of the Asia, okay, what are how do you feel working for such a large company when we connect the subject of empowerment of women to yourself?
Okay, Nicole, you are asking very challenging question, but I think there are only two words to describe, and I hope whether the ladies can disagree with me if you feel differently, but I think it is really the passion, you know, the passion and the resilience, and believing in what we do and push it all the way. I certainly, personally, I feel at times it has been difficult. At times it has been difficult, especially in such a big corporation. But I think, you know, that two elements, passion and resilience, I think is what every lady will need to drive themselves to the max.
I understand. I know that, of course, we need the passion. We cannot just cry. We are women. We don't get this. We are not well appreciated. But of course, we need also to work hard, yeah, and have, you know, and try to achieve our goals.
But,
which, and I know how
Sure,
hard you are with yourself, and I know that you are everywhere in the same time. So
Yes,
you work very hard.
Thanks, Nicole. But to be fair, I think in today's world, not just AkzoNobel, I think, but a lot of very responsible corporation, I think diversity and giving opportunity to women, it is real, in today's context. Yeah, and I think women today are given a lot of opportunities. So it is up to the girl power now to make sure, we take full advantage and we live our passion and do our best. Not just for ourselves, but more importantly for our next generation.
Thanks, Pamela, and see you next year at the COP25.
Thank you,
Okay?
Nicole. Yes.
Now we go to Brazil with the three ladies from Brazil, and amongst them there is, of course, a gentleman. So I introduce to you Dr. Maria Rolim, who is going to introduce properly herself to you and make a presentation.
So, good afternoon. Thank you again, some of you, because some of you have been together. We have been together in the morning. Is that working? Yeah? Yeah, it's okay?
Yes.
Well, as Nicole said, thank you, Nicole, for the opportunity again. My name is Maria Rolim. I'm from Brazil. Actually, I was born in Angola, in Africa, but raised in Brazil. So I'm a lawyer and an economist. I work with energy in Brazil, basically in renewables, which is an area very important for Brazil, energy. My passion, as most of you now know. And very important to Brazil to meet the agreement targets, the agreement goals, and the Paris Agreement goals, and also for ourselves. We really need to have a good share of renewables in our mix. I know Brazil now is under a kind of a pressure relating to the Paris Agreement, so it's a wonderful opportunity to talk about that, actually. Passa para mim, por favor, querido. I'm going to speak renewables in general, but mostly about solar, photovoltaic, and then Rodrigo will try to give a picture of the wind market. So, as most of you might know, Brazil has agreed to meet some goals in terms of energy under the Paris Agreement, basically to reduce the gas emissions, and to achieve this goal, Brazil has to mix the energy, to diversification, to diversify its mix of energy for around 45% of renewables in 2013. So it is expected to have an expansion of the renewables other than hydropower, which is very interesting to say because Brazil already has a lot of hydropower in the mix, but we have to switch it to another source like wind and solar. One thing interesting to say about Brazil, we do have a lot of water, or at least we think we have a lot of water, which is not exactly true, because most of the water in Brazil now to be used to energy is in the Amazon area, in the rainforest, which makes it very sensitive to explore as an energy source. And I think we live in this kind of fantasy that we have enough water for the rest of life, and that's not true. So that's a great exercise to change from water to other renewable source. Well, we do have some plans on ground to reach the agreement. They might not be enough. They might be need to be updated, but they are there. We have the Brazilian National Plan on Climate Change, which is a bit kind of outdated, but we still stick to it. We have measures like to improve energy efficiency, to do incentives to encourage the biofuels with the Renewable. You had the opportunity to talk about this morning, which is quite new. Renewable is from 2018, 17, yeah, but still being ongoing process. And we have a kind of hard work to reduce the deforestation rates in Brazil. That's, I think I would say, the worst part to do. And also to identify how to mix our energy matrix, our energy mix. Electricity is essential, and is essential for everyone. We will depend more and more on electricity. That's why I'll focus on the power sector today. Some of you saw this morning, Brazil is already very well placed in terms of mixing energy. In our total energy mix, not only the power, we have 40% of renewables, including water, and we expect to meet our our target of 40% around 2022, even before, if it's possible, mixing with more of wind and solar, basically, and biofuels as well. Sugarcane, very controversial, but true. It's a good option also. It's good to look at our pizza, energy pizza, as I like to say. It used to be a lot of red tomato around, like the oil, too much oil, as many other places in the world. We used to be very dependent on oil in our mix. And then we moved a little bit in 2017. Oil has gave some space, a lot of space actually, from 42% to 36% to other source, hydro, hydro, biomass, and no other renewables. Sugarcane is still very important for us as well in the total mix. And 2027, the good thing is that we expecting, according to our plan of energy ahead, 10 years ahead, we make it 10 years and then 50 years ahead, but 10 years I would say is more trustful, is more doable. We expect we still need to improve a bit of the hydro, but not that too much comparing to the potential that we have. But we need to improve more, and we expect to improve, to give more space for other renewables, in particular in this case, from 6 to 9%, which is a big jump in solar and wind, more solar in this case. Well, it's very interesting because it just came out, the BP report on the energy in the world, and that's the mix. That's the bad news to some extent, because that's the mix in Brazil, in the world, which means that no fossil, coal, oil, and gas are pretty much the same since 1997 to 2017. So we haven't done that much as we think we have done in the past. So we still, that's why you are here, maybe that's why it's such a big event. We really need to do more. But to be fair to Brazil, as I like to be, I enjoy being fair to Brazil. Brazil has always, yeah, the other one, please. Yeah, Brazil, thank you. Brazil has always had a very different mix in the energy. So we are we could do more, but we are on track. We are doing. Maybe we need to discuss a little bit more how the rest of the world and what the rest of the world can do together with us. Maybe not on their own, I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm saying you are doing, we need to do more, maybe together. Well, the solar, I'm going to focus a little bit of the solar, maybe because I like sun. I think everyone likes sun in Brazil. Well, we have a very, very good sun. We have an intense sunlight. And to compare, for instance, with the Germany, they are very well known for solar energy, or used to be at least. Our worst sun is highest than the German average annual sun. But I always used to say that we have the sun, sometimes we don't have the right law, so we don't have solar energy. The Germans don't have the sun, but they had the right law and they had the energy. So we need to think about law. I'm a lawyer, I like to think about law. What else can I do? Go ahead. Well, it's interesting here, I like to say that the solar, not only it's good sun, but it matches very well with the wind. That's why we are friends, basically. I'm the sun, he's the wind. We complement each other very well, and we'll see when we speak about the wind. When the sun goes down, the wind is in a good position for Brazil. So we have this, we are blessed, and I used to say, the same thing that blesses us is the same thing that curses us. Sometimes we have to choose what to do. So go ahead. Well, here again, solar focus on centralized generation, which means scale, not only small projects. Look the jump that we have done in terms of the jump down, the down in terms of price. Solar now in Brazil is quite competitive, and thanks to the equipment, probably in future with your contribution, because I was really impressed this morning about the colors and the possibility of becoming the new panel, actually. It's really good. So, but the price, that used to be a great excuse to not invest in, like it's not competitive, it's not good. That's not true anymore. Wind has a wonderful, wonderful story. We'll see. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about that anymore, but wind has a good story, a good study case in Brazil, a positive one, and the solar, we want to do the same with the solar. Well, the growth that we expect in 2008, if you see, there is a giant jump in the solar investment in Brazil, together with this distributed generation, which basically are smaller projects, not so small, because in Brazil the law is 5 megawatts, the cap, which is not so small. And decentralized projects as well. I like to say that Enel, the Italian company, and the EDP, Portuguese company, both well established in Brazil. They have really great and big, huge solar parks, I would say, in Brazil. Northeastern Brazil, I think they are. Yeah. To be more accurate, EDP is just starting one, and the Enel has one already in Piauí, I think already finished. Well, comparing now, it's not exactly the same, but I can compare the installed capacity and the energy mix only in solar, in power, specifically in power. We have today 6% of hydro in our power mix. Just electricity. We have other sources, of course, but what is interesting in our plan is that in 2040, we expect to raise solar from almost anything, less than 1%, to around 32%. It doesn't mean we're going to do that, but we plan to do that. And even if we do half of it, we've done a lot. And I can assure you, because I've been working with projects in Brazil for such a long time, that it's feasible and possible. Of course, we need a lot of things, in particular political will and investment, as we'll see. Well, so some final considerations and something to think about, as we had this morning, pretty much similar. But the diversification of Brazilian energy mix is crucial. It's crucial for Brazil, and it's crucial for the world itself. So it's not an internal affair, it is important for the rest of the world as well, because it will reduce the emissions, and also it will potentialize our resource internally. The key factors are, they are complementary. We have complementary source. We need to develop new technology, but we already have some kind of knowledge on this. And we need, again, as we saw this morning in terms of the grid, the networking, to have Brazilian government policies consistent to attract investment. And finally, the final one to discuss, as you like, tough questions. Well, so here I am. Again, we have the 3 drivers of transition: environmental, the idea of having a better climate, a better planet; political will, always important, and of course the economic planning, having our resource and the industry, the local industry. I would say that ideal world you need the three of them. In the doable and reality, sometimes you can have one more, another less, but we still have something on place. So it's good to say that although Brazil is under fire this moment, we do have a strong industry, a local strong industry, and I do believe that we will make it. It doesn't matter because no government, no president is crazy enough to say bye-bye to our local renewable industry.
He is making a decision.
He's not in power yet.
No, he is making decisions.
I know you're asking me that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The COP25 is not going to be in Brazil.
Yeah, but well, the industry is there and we plan to stay there still. Well, but again, I would like to ask, we do have the public policies. I know the government, as you want to discuss, it's not the ideal position now.
It's not going to be easy. Yeah.
It's not going to be easy and has never been, but now will be a bit worse, I guess so, a bit more difficult.
We're not talking about easy from the perspective of resources or the perspective of the people, what the people wants. Here we are talking about politicians, okay?
Yeah.
And we are talking about a mandate. We are talking about decisions which are going to be made now, which will affect the whole of the country for a generation to come. So think about this.
I think about this. I do believe. I'm not talking. I don't. To make clear my position, to be honest, I work for the government. No, I don't work for the government. I have worked for companies. I'm a lawyer. I have always been a lawyer, work in Brazil, but I have a lot of practice in the energy market in Brazil. A lot. I've been working for 25 years just with that. I don't work for the government. I'm not speaking their name, but I can speak what I see in Brazil, living there.
But Maria, we are not talking about
no,
you or me.
Yeah, let me answer.
We are talking about damages.
So let me try to ask your question. So from my perspective, living in Brazil, staying there, it will be worse. For sure, when you have a president saying that they don't believe that climate change is happening, of course you have one more challenge ahead, and you have to face it. But I'm saying that I believe it won't be the end of our plan. It will be worse, it will be slower, I'm aware of that. It will put some people down, it will put some people away. But if I didn't believe that it's possible to do, I would be the first one to leave. And I assure you that we stay there working, I'm sure I will have work, and I work with renewables.
So we are not talking about leaving, and I'm
sometimes
sure
I am.
the people are not going to leave.
Sometimes I am.
I'm sure the people are going to fight.
Sometimes they can.
And I'm sure the people, they are going to...
Can I finish and then you ask me the difficult questions? So, private sector, there are plenty of opportunities to be there. All invited to come, doesn't matter the policies there, even with the bad decisions. A president in Brazil doesn't decide anything alone, it has the other institutions and we need to keep an eye on them, I'm sure. Society, it's wrong, but society, consumer pressures, shaping preference. We don't have that much in Brazil, we still don't have this claim of the consumer side asking, I want to have this energy or that energy. You still don't have a very good policy on place. And finally, the international community, specifically the developed countries, I would like to fill in this gap with some good role of the international community in this new fight, which is worse, you are right.
That's why they are fighting Trump.
Yeah, exactly,
Good.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly the same.
Find for me somebody
a kind of Latin America.
who is fighting Trump. Yeah? So
thank you very much. I know you are about to kill me, but that's okay.
No. It's not about killing you. It's about we are here. It's about the Paris Agreement and all these debates about renewable energies. It's all to do with the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, that's.
And then if we see this, these people who are at the moment taking the stand of being skeptic about the whole of the climate change, where are we going to go with this, populists who are coming with all these ideas, which are just crazy, okay? And we agree about this. But is that, are we going to have another Trump, another Brazil?
Well, I don't know. I cannot say if it is a Trump
We
or
are talking
not.
about the future of the Paris Agreement.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm in position to answer that, but I assure you that it was a fair election, democratically elected. He was. We have to respect that. Doesn't matter what I think, what we individually think.
Of course.
No one doubts that. Sometimes in some countries we doubt, but in Brazil, this time you cannot say that. And I'm not completely sure about his ideas in energy, in the energy side specifically.
Of course.
I do trust in the policy that I looked at for the future. I'm not sure that if that will be the policy, but I had the opportunity to see it, and I pretty much believe in this, but I'm not sure if it will be the policy in place for the next years, but I trust it will. And I cannot say I don't have the crystal ball, and if it's Trump or not, well, that's not for me to say. Maybe I will ask his wife.
So
Empower women, ask his wife.
that's it. Now we turn to a
Is
gentleman
Trump or not?
from Brazil. We have been hearing just a lady since this morning from Brazil. So let's hear it from Rodrigo.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna run away from politics for a little bit and come back to the technical issues. I'd like to thank Nicole for the invitation, and Maria. I work in collaboration with Rolim law firm. I'm a lawyer. I've been working with renewable since 2007, so it's been 11 years. I'm gonna try to explain to you how the wind energy market is working in Brazil. And it does complement Maria's presentation in order to show to you how renewables are very important in Brazil. If you come back, you all know, but if you come back to Paris Agreement, from the national contributions, we go to the Brazilian contributions, which says that Brazil will strive for a transition towards energy systems based on renewable sources. And then specifically, we go to the way that Maria had said. We have always the energy mix almost 45. And we are trying to achieve specifically renewable in the power force from between 28 to 33 by 2030. Okay? It will be increasing the share of renewable other than hydroelectric power in the power supply at least 23% by 2030. It's the same that Maria said. And specifically in wind, we're gonna talk about the national plan, the 10-year plan, and it has huge importance in Brazil. And they start saying renewable energy is considered a priority, and diversification of sources a fundamental principle of Brazil energy matrix. You see that in this study, we had in 2014 only 2% of wind in the Brazilian electric power matrix. It is not updated, but we can say today that we are already have almost 10% of wind. That's the wind production since 2005 has skyrocketed to a place that we couldn't imagine 10 years ago. In Brazil, it is a case of a good case of success, and we really do appreciate working in renewable in Brazil. This 10-year energy expansion plan says that our expected investment in order of 1.4 trillion reais. This means 400 billion dollars between 2017 to 2026. That's a lot of money. It is also expect an expansion of 11.8 gigawatts of wind power and 7 for solar photovoltaic. Yeah, that's why, because we just disagree in that point of the presentation. And here we can see the indicative reference expansion. It keeps growing steadily, but growing, different than before. Okay, and the same study compares the NDC and the plan. So only to the power related to renewable, without the hydroelectrical power, we're gonna have, they say, at least 35%. This is much more than 32 from the NDC. I don't know why they put 32, because in the plan they say 28 to 33. Maybe it's an average number. And the last information, but not the least, the last information in this plan, we have 12 gigawatts. We can see 12 gigawatts of energy today. This is almost 10% of the power matrix in Brazil. And they are gonna have, they expect to have 23 in 2023, the same year. So this is the plan that we pursue under looking forward to the Paris Agreement and the goals inside the Paris Agreement. Where we are, the same pizza that Maria just showed us. We have 12 gigawatts of wind. That's a good part of the pizza. And we are in the 8th position, Brazil, if we compare only wind power in the world. What is the Brazil's unique wind potential and high capacity factors? In Brazil, we have a class of wind which is called one of the best class ever, because we don't have, but Brazil, especially in the northwest, combines stable high wind speeds, low wind gusts, and low turbulence as constant wind directions. This means that we can produce energy much more than Europe, much more than Africa, much more than Asia. That's why wind is so important. As consequence, it allows higher towers and rotors, which means the machines that we buy from GE, from other companies, Gamesa, Siemens, Vestas, these machines can be much better in relation to the production they have in Europe. This means that we can enjoy the technology that they do have in Europe, they do have in America, and to create our own technology. And what happened in Brazil? This is a graph from the year of 2012, okay? It shows from the Brazilian Wind Energy Association. It shows that the capacity until 2012 was 2,500 gigawatts of wind energy. And they were saying that we're gonna go through 6,000 gigawatts. It's more than the double. What does it mean? It means that the product, the generation, was supposed to skyrocket in the year of 2012. Okay? And why was that? The highlights for the wind energy in Brazil. First, international visibility. At that time, it was very good. Functional regulation. We cannot complain about regulation, which is good, I think. Public actions policy. The policy that has been, at least until 2012, it was very good to the market related to energy and wind energy. At that age, we had a consolidated supply chain, so the manufacturers had arrived in Brazil. Funding, either private or public, and also at that time we had an investment grade, So Brazil was seen as a great country to invest, different than today, but we are here to defend Brazil. That's why we still believe that we can come back to that time. Okay, and as a result of years of studying since 2007, we had a consolidated wind measurements. So the wind that we used to study, it was consolidated in studies that we can stand for. It is reliable, sorry. And this is, for instance, a load capacity that shows exactly this one. Our load capacity, which means the capacity to generate energy, it is almost the double of Europe, about average, okay? If you talk in average. So we're talking in 42%. This is, when the wind comes into the machine, we deliver 42% of energy. This is too much. And what happened? If you see the number in 2013 is not anymore the 6,000, it is 3,000. It is half of the energy that we were expecting to that time. And the projection is not anymore skyrocketed. It keeps increasing, but not with that potential. You see that in this Brazilian wind energy study, in this graph, 2023, we're going to have 17,000. It's not the number that we need. I'm going to show you. And also, the investment. We had the investment to 2010, about 2,000 billion of dollars. This is the amount. And we didn't grow the necessary amount that we needed. We keep walking at the side, but we keep investing much or more or less the same that we used to invest.
I would like to ask a question. This, is it inward investment?
This is only wind.
No. Is it a national?
No, not only national.
Private sector investment or foreign?
We can say that is both.
Both.
Private, but foreign and national investment mix.
Yes.
And we can say that from 2013 and to 2014 and 15, I can say there was much more foreign investment than before.
So what's if we have to estimate the government's investment into the wind energy, what will be the estimate? Is it 30%?
No. In the market in Brazil is quite different. We don't have direct public investment in energy and strictly in wind energy. We have private sectors that participate in public actions and they have the right to sell energy, including to the government, but not only.
So why the government is not a part of the direct investment to get more profit and also to serve better the people, okay? Because don't forget, when you have got the prices of government are much less than the prices of the investors who are reselling it to the private sector, who themselves, they will sell it back to the consumer.
Okay, but because the public sector stands for regulation, so they prefer regulate the private sector in order to achieve the goals that they have by supplying energy.
But which are the goals? The goals is to sell it expensive.
Of course.
Let me just to help because it's regulation. Well, we have quite a policy to encourage wind energy and other renewables, and it was really a success. It's copied all over the world, actually. We have specific source auctions. So if you want to encourage one kind of source, let's say solar or wind for long years had auctions just for it. And just to you can confirm the policies to encourage specific investment. We don't have money for everything in Brazil. Of course, as any country has to select some priorities. And our power sector is mature enough now to have this policy and invest directly. It wasn't in 2000, maybe before. And apart from that, the national development, the Brazilian Development Bank, I think Luciane is going to speak more about the financing source, has financed a lot of projects in Brazil directly with very, very good low tax
This is
rates.
the
BNDES.
Bende.
Yeah.
So it's not the Bank of Brazil, no, or the Development Bank.
Development Bank of
Bank.
Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is not the government buying the energy, but preparing the grounds to the investment.
So the
Either financing or preparing the grounds.
So the government is more encouraging the private sector to engage and to invest in the renewable energies than to do, of course they cannot do everything, but it should be at least 50-50. Because
Look, Nicole, it works in Brazil.
It works.
Because the private sector does want to sell energy, but we need the grounds and the funding to do this. That's why. So if it works properly with the low interest rates and a good regulation, the private sector will do good.
So and then you have a good regulation in place to, of course, to regulate, and especially on the prices for the consumer.
The prices went down.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
For example, here in Europe, let's say in England, the companies are free to sell the energy the way they want, okay? So there is a regulation which, of course, you cannot go to a certain extent. But is it the same what's happening? Can we compare this to Brazil?
It is the same for special consumers. Yeah, Maria can explain it.
Well, we since 2001, I believe, we kind of opened our energy market. It used to be absolutely public. I teach this in school, and I used to say that government role in the power sector in Brazil was really relevant. The government built the power sector in Brazil. They were the only one able to have money to do that. But it was built based in state companies in different states. From 2000 or before, I can't remember, 19 something, yeah, 90s, late 90s, we opened the market absolutely following and copying the bridge model, actually, which didn't work that much the first time because, in fact, in UK it's thermal, it's gas,
yeah.
and in Brazil it's hydro. That's why we had in 2001 a short of energy. After that, the government has always been present in the sector, either being directly providing. Eletrobras is still has 50% of generation in Brazil, the hydro, either doing the right or the wrong policies,
of course.
But it has, for renewables, they have mixed a bit of financing, land with low rates through the development bank, and mix this a little bit of encourage with specific auctions to specific source. We call them reserve auctions. So they don't put water together, now they are changing a little bit. So it's since 2000, we are talking about 18 years. So it's, I believe, and Brazilian companies want that. We want more freedom of the market. We want freedom of the market. We don't want the government to do everything, but we need the right policy to keep going. So that's the regulation. That's our trade-off, very difficult to do.
Okay. So, Rodrigo.
Just to finish.
Okay.
Let's happen the main issues. I'm gonna do what happened in Brazil. There was a delay in implementation, a political turmoil. The economic slowed down after 2012. And we have a lot of financial concern that we didn't talk a little bit, but there was a shortage of funding. It was a problem in building the wind farm. And what can we say to specifically to the Paris Agreement? If you talk only in wind, we must jump from 0.8 gigawatts per year to 1.8 gigawatts per year. This means that the investment must go from 4 billion reais to 8.5 billion reais per year. This means much more foreign investment, much more public investment, funding, and regulation, and all the grounds that we do need. Of course.
Okay, so I'm here to discuss a different project, but at the same time, I work for a technology company. I'm the head of operation for Poland, for one of the blockchain technology company in the
great.
world. And so we are like, okay, in short, I have the answer for this, but I'll talk to you later.
Of course, that's okay. I love blockchain. I would like to use blockchain energy
So
supply.
the problem is, the question is how can you, so I'm doing a project right now, but that's my job, right?
Okay.
Not the business. I have a business and the job. So we see that the sustainable energy, the biggest frictions are the people and the funds.
Okay.
People don't have funds to buy those devices. Investors do not want to invest money because people do not want to put their money. So what happened is we expect in the next 15 years, we will see the market will be saturated when everybody will have a solar panel on an easy way. And our target is how can we fast this process to 3 years. So you deploy billions of dollars panels in a country, like, I do not know, like $4 to $5 billion. But in the next 2 years, how can you do this?
Okay.
So there's a lot of trust issue at every angle, and we are solving this even now. Like that's what we are working, and I think will be good, because I think what you're talking about is the energy. People produce energy, companies producing energy, but why not the world is using? So the answer is not like, okay, you can always produce, but until unless you do not bring it to the mass, to the people, when you do not make a strategy when they are winning, not you winning, not the company, not the government. They don't care about government. My mom doesn't care about government. My brother, they don't care about. So as long as you would not make a strategy for them to win, they will not take any step. Even if it is sold by, I don't know, Tom Cruise or Kim Kardashian, they will not take it.
I see.
Right,
This,
so
this is specifically about the fulfilling the Paris Agreement. So I agree with you. It's an ongoing process to show how the results go further to the people. I agree.
So you say that 4 to 8.5. Actually, it's a very
To reach the Paris Agreement.
it's a very easy target because it's only 1.5 times.
It is not. In
2
Brazil,
point-
it is not.
yeah,
Believe
yeah.
me.
I like to say that
Yes.
if you need to lose weight
Yeah.
and you are overweight,
Yeah.
over your ideal weight, it's
Yes.
easy to in the beginning to lose weight.
Yes.
After some time, it's really hard, and we are already high, really high in wind. That's why now it will be harder.
I think it's a very good argument you gave me. So let me explain in a very simple way. You know the matchstick of wood, when you make a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a strategy called that's understanding about the situation. So when you make a fire by the matchstick and the wood is burning,
Yeah.
it's a burning process. That is the time to put water or something to save the wood, because it's still wood. And the time comes when it's already burnt and it's damaged. It's not wood anymore. It's changed its nature. So what you're telling me the problem, it means at that time you need to look for another solution. You're trying to fix ash into the wood. Ash will never turn back to the wood. That's nature, right? So when you're telling me the problem, the thing is like when something is damaged, don't touch it. Let's find the next solution.
but
And there is
it's-
another solution. It's
That's
about
why
the,
we have a mix. That's why I said that when I don't have sun, I have wind. When I don't have wind, I have sun. Brazil is as big as India. There are two big companies, Indian companies, they just went to Brazil. I don't think they are stupid. It's stupid. They know what they are doing.
No, of
they know the
course.
solution. They know what they are investing in.
I think-
Wind and transmission line.
Yeah, so there is a one thing I think we are missing here. I'm still focusing on putting my focus on how to fast the process, how to fasten the speed of the process so that regular people will get it. I'm not really interested in the government. I'm not really into, like, how do you, because strategies will not be bring by government who's, I do not know.
No,
I have
no,
nothing
yeah.
against the age, but I'm definitely sure my dad, who's 62 years old, he doesn't even know how to use smartphone. So he will definitely not understand the blockchain tech that I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
about. It is the future 10 years time.
I know. I'm in the board of one of the blockchain
we'll-
companies, so I know it's really, it can faster
So-
and it can,
so you
it
probably-
is another way of seeing this.
So probably
seeing
you know the
same
company
point,
called
I think.
Consensus. Have you heard of Consensus? So I'm the head of operation for Consensus for this country, and we do a lot of products, but I think that's a different topic. We're going to do
Yeah,
side
yeah,
talk.
yeah.
Thank you, Sumit. Thanks.
That's it from the time to save time.
Rodrigo,
That's okay.
come on.
You want to,
Finish.
no, you want to ask me the politics
Finish.
question?
It's okay. No, I'm not.
No,
I'm
it's
not.
finished. And this is
Are
one
you-
of the
Okay.
pictures that we had in Brazil.
Sir?
That's okay.
Thank you, Rodrigo.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sure that I'm sure that there are some solutions to the investments. Okay, and I can see that Brazil is maybe is going towards the investment, the green finance. And I think that the green bonds are going to be very useful for Brazil, okay?
Yeah, but it's good. I think it's good to have this discussion. You are right when you say that we don't know the future, and we really don't know. But we have some, let's say, evidence from the past, from the history. I always say the success of the past doesn't mean you will have success in the future, but it gives you some indication of what you can do, how you can learn what you have learned. That's what we are trying to stick to and to keep going.
I am 100% with, of course, your suggestions and your analysis. But let's see what the future will bring. And that's it.
Let's still stand for and fight for
Yeah.
if necessary.
Now, I am going to introduce, but please keep it short and sweet, okay? Luciane, introduce yourself. Yeah, we are finishing before, so I will call you. just
Não, eu já adoro falar sentada.
Yeah. After this.
Ah, não, eu já
We are not
passei
going to go because they have to get to the people.
dessa época.
Okay? So we will have 10 more minutes. 5 for her and 5 for
To put it the whole screen.
But I think it's very useful for everybody.
So, I am Luciane Moessa. I work with sustainable finance. That's why I'm here. I'm not an expert in energy. I've been learning a little bit about energy because I work with green finance. Okay, I worked for the Central Bank of Brazil for almost 10 years. I started to study this topic as an academic research, postdoctoral research, and then I decided to leave my employer just to work with this. That's what I'm doing now full time, and I basically provide trainings for banks, pension funds, and so on. Also, these trainings can be directed to companies. I'm planning this for next year. And I will talk a little bit about the role of the financial system on this regard, not exactly focusing in energy sector, but regarding environment and social aspects in general, and I will try to give some examples from the energy sector at least, okay? Because if I had more time, I would focus more like explaining a little bit what National Development Bank of Brazil has been doing on this regard, which is a lot.
I know, unfortunately, the time.
Yeah, but
However,
not a problem.
I have already introduced the green finance.
Yes,
okay?
sure.
At the end, when Rodrigo,
Yes.
it's just to try to make a link between the need of the funding and investment and how you can, what is the solution to this problem? The solution, because the raw material is there. Okay, I'm just trying to connect Rodrigo's presentation where he said that the funding and investment is not, comparing to the raw material, how you can use it, the investment and the fundings are very low. So that's why I try to connect with
So you
your
want
presentation.
me to give up my slides?
No. You go on, carry on.
Because regarding the presentation, I will make the connections, but it's broader. We have basically risks and opportunities when we think about environmental and social considerations into finance, okay? And regarding energy, there are more opportunities than risks involved. We don't have as many compliance problems. It's more a performance issue. We have to think about energy efficiency and energy mix. Basically, that's it, the energy source of companies in general, and how the financial sector can improve the green energy sources and finance less fossil fuels. So it's not that much regarding the negative impacts. I'll try to direct to that, but just give a little bit of the big picture to start, okay? Basically, as I said a little bit in the other panel, for the financial sector, we are talking a lot about how sustainability is business, and business may be focused in sustainability in a profitable way. For the financial sector, this is starting to become clear, but it's not clear enough so far. So most banks, at least large banks, and pension funds, and other institutional investors and asset managers are starting to realize it makes sense, it's good for financial returns to be green. But the dimension is not clear enough so far, and how to do it is not clear to everybody, so the state of the market at this point is a little bit what I'm describing in this slide. So there are not enough financial incentives for companies to be greener than they are. Okay, being very practical, if a company is moving from coal to solar, for example, in general, they won't get better interest rates on loans, won't get a better, more demand for investments. But it can affect, for example, some banks, they have green loans. Maybe they have loans that are directed exactly to companies who want to improve energy efficient, or who want to move the source of energy to fossil to renewable. This already exists, but it's only a small part of loans portfolios, unfortunately, so far, and also from investment portfolios. And usually doesn't mean better rates, okay? There are some dedicated lines, but usually doesn't mean better rates, except for the development banks. So National Development Bank from Brazil, BNDES, has better rates for renewables. It doesn't finance coal at all anymore. This change happened 2 years ago. Doesn't finance coal at all. The highest rates are for oil and gas, and then we have also high rates for big hydropower plants, and then small power plants have medium rates, and then solar and wind and biomass have the best rates. Okay, so, and not only the BNDES, but also regional development banks and state-based development banks do the same. Okay,
I think the most of the banks now, they go more for responsible investment. Okay.
Yeah, banks do. Investment is more another field, because we have in the financial sector, we have banking, and investments and insurance. Okay, so when I'm talking about banks, I'm talking about loans at this moment. But private banks usually don't have better rates for clean energy. They have dedicated lines sometimes, but they don't have better rates. This is one of the things where we can do much more than we are doing as a financial system, okay? And there isn't any regulatory incentive so far for them to be greener than they are. There are regulatory requirements for them to manage the environment and social risks in their portfolios regarding negative impacts. But there are no incentives, no requirements at all to finance more positive impacts, to be greener, so far, in Brazil. Okay? Some countries do have that, like China, Bangladesh, and so on. In Brazil, we don't even have a definition, like most countries in the world, of what might be considered a green loan or a green investment, as I put here in the item 5. So first of all, we need a definition. We need a definition of what might be considered green, which is simple sometimes, other times it's not that simple. And we don't have this so far. This affects a lot what we are talking about here, so I'll focus on in these proposals in which they affect the energy sector. We need this definition of what is green, both regarding loans and investments. We also need to have incentives for the companies that are improving their energy mix or energy efficiency. The same way regarding water efficiency or waste management or deforestation risks, including the supply chains, any other aspects. And we need these incentives, this performance, let's say, be reflecting the pricing of credit, like interest rates, or at least better deadlines or better credit limits. Somehow there should be some advantage for companies who are investing to be greener, okay? And this doesn't exist usually. This is the exception. Currently, it's not the rule, unfortunately. So there's plenty of things to do in this regard. One indirect measure that I believe regulators could do, like Bank of Bangladesh already does, it's the only one as far as I could identify, is to create a ranking among financial institutions, for example, among banks, to compare how green their portfolios are. And we have an initiative from the civil society in the world based in 9 countries called Fair Finance Guide, who does that, but we don't have any official initiatives like this in other countries except for Bangladesh. They rank banks according to their sustainability initiatives, which generates a race to be greener. Okay, this would be quite useful on this regard, financing of renewables. The definition also, and the definition is not that complex. We already have very good proposals contained in the Green Loan Principles, which is a self-regulatory initiative. It's an initiative of banks all over the world to define what are green loans. And it's much easier than green bonds, for example, because the time frame is much more constrained usually, and it's not that complicated to track the use of the resources, the financial resources, as it is with fixed income bonds. Because bonds, usually they go to the treasury of the company, and if it's labeled green, you need a system to certify the project is green, and a system to track the destination. Regarding loans, the tracking is much easier. It's already, and the bank has a relationship with the client. It's much easier than when you talk about investments. So this is very recent. These green loan principles were created in March this year. I hope this will bring progress in the market, but for sure, if regulators did their role on this regard, then we'll have much more relevant progress. In terms of risks, also, I think regulators could do a lot if they define categories of risk, because this is prudential regulation. So if a portfolio of a bank has less environmental and social risk, it has less risks in general, a bank is safer. And this is what central banks and banking regulators are supposed to look at. And since it's already been proved that environmental and social risks have financial consequence, the next step is to define and to measure how much this is relevant, and then assess banks' portfolios against these measures, right? When I'm talking about risks here, I'm talking about environmental and social risks, because there are already classification regarding traditional risks. My proposal is to create a classification regarding environmental and social risks, or require that environmental social risks integrate the traditional risk ratings. Regarding materiality, regarding financial relevance of environmental and social risks, there are already some examples in the world when we have definitions regarding what is green. The most known example is the one of China, in which they defined a green credit in 2012. And then in the first 3 years they compared the default rate in the whole market against the default rate in the green credit market, and they found out that in the green credit market the default rate was 5 times smaller, only 0.5%, while in the average market was 2%. And recently some researchers, both from Chinese universities and Canadian universities, they measured they compared the default rates of 24 Chinese banks, which comprise 72% of Chinese market, and compared the default rate against the percentage of the portfolio that is green. And they found out that the more the portfolio is green, the more the proportion of the portfolio is green, the less the bank has default rate. Default rate is clear for everybody, right? When the loan is not paid. So it pays off to be green, definitely. Also, we have an example in Brazil from Dutch Rabobank, which operates only with rural lending in Brazil, and they have a very strong system of evaluate environmental and social risks of their clients, and they already measured and concluded that the smaller the environmental social risks of their clients, the smaller the default rates. This is reflected in the interest rates. Because of this, they give a difference of between 0.5% and 1%, which is quite relevant when we talk about rural lending. This is the difference that environmental and social risks affect the interest rates of their clients, okay? So this is something that we have to improve, because it's still the exception in the market, is not the rule. Banks are not required to reflect. They are required, at least in Brazil and some other countries, they are required to have a system to identify, assess, monitor environmental and social risks, but they are not required to reflect these assessment results into pricing or conditions of credit. They do this if they want. They're free to choose to do that, but they are not required so far. Also, something that is relevant, very relevant in terms of climate change, is the recommendations of the so-called Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. I don't know if everybody heard about it. The idea of this initiative, which is a market-led initiative, was in fact commissioned by the G20 2 years ago to create recommendations on how companies should disclose climate-related risks so that investors could consider this information in their investment decisions, okay? And so we had half of the participants from the corporate side, half of the participants from the financial side. And banks, on this regard, they are both usually open corporations, so they receive investments from the capitals market, and they also finance corporations. So there are specific recommendations from the task force for specific industries, and these ones are the specific that I put here in the slide, are the specific recommendations for bank regarding metrics and targets. They should measure how much their portfolios are green. Okay, basically this is the idea. They should measure the percentage of their portfolios that are green, both loan portfolios and investment portfolios, and also institutional investors should do the same. There are similar recommendations for them. I also mentioned the idea of the sustainability ranking. This is almost the last slide, okay? We have this civil society initiative which is based in Netherlands and has 9 countries included in the world, including Brazil. They make this ranking based on a very sophisticated methodology, but of course it doesn't have the same reach as if financial regulators were doing that. Not many people even know this ranking exists. Is there any Brazilian people who have heard of this here? So it's called Guia dos Bancos Responsáveis. It's online. EDEC is their partner. They are the partner of the Dutch Fair Finance Guide in Brazil, and it exists in Brazil since more than 5 years for sure. And even people who are quite well informed don't know. But if Central Bank of Brazil had something like this, most of us would know maybe, because Central Bank has a ranking regarding consumer complaints, for example, for banks, and a lot of people know about it. But we don't have a sustainability ranking so far. To conclude, just to mention that...
Luciane, we are running off, you know, so if you can...
Did I have the same time?
Sorry. You had 15 minutes like everyone else.
Okay.
Yeah. 15 minutes.
Okay. Well, may I conclude or should I?
Just give a conclusion to this.
Yeah, this is almost the last. This is a slide showing that are already 10 countries in the world that have banking regulation in this regard. There are networks of central banks discussing how to improve this, how to make the financial system greener. And also there are lots of self-regulatory initiatives on this regard, measuring natural capital risks and opportunities to connect financial system to sustainable development. This is the whole idea. Most part of our economy, at least countries that are minimally sophisticated, most of the economy is financed through the financial system. So the potential of the financial system to change the economy is huge if we consider this in the decision-making process, both via regulation and via market-led initiatives. So that's it.
Thank you.
This is a national initiative that we have in Brazil, which is quite relevant. If you want to know more, go to the website. Please go to the website. Okay.
Thank you, Luciane. Thank you. Thank you. Can we just have 2 minutes for... He came from India.
Yes, but we have already 25 minutes today.
So are they waiting, other people?
Yeah, we have
I'm sorry then.
It's true.
Sumit, you want to go for 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I don't, even if you just turn on the first page, will be good of the presentation. So I anyway didn't plan to show you the presentation because I wanted to speak with people in a very simple way. Like when you have a car and you are in a shopping mall and you're going back to your home, all what you do, where you're going, you pick home. You have a predefined price in your app. Let's say you're going to charge anybody to sit in your car for $1. So what happened is anybody like him or me can want to go from this point to this point, and if we are on your route, we can sit in your car and go. It means you can share the ride. So a kind of a technology which Uber has, but much more sophisticated and complicated, which will cost a lot more to code it. It is not very easy. But in that way, when I'm going to office every morning, either I can take people in my car, and instead of they taking their car, they can come with me. So even if we have 20,000 cars less in the city, we have 20,000 more parking spaces without creating more parking spaces. we have 20,000 less traffic just without any policy. So sometimes just the better arrangement can do a lot of things. And this is a company, My Ride. Last year we won global winner of sustainability project by United Nations COP23. Last year I represented the big presentation, and that was really nice. I made a mistake last year that I came to, I made a lot of contacts, a very good one with the people who wanted to use the product. So I met the director of Luxembourg transport system, and he said, we definitely want to use it because everybody in Luxembourg is coming from Belgium, Germany, and France. So he said, oh great, make it. So I met a lot of people who want to use it, but I didn't meet a lot of people who want to help me to build it. So I tried to put my funds. So if we go to the last page, just maybe the very last one. You need to go just to the last, yeah. About us, yeah. So that will be all. So all I want to say is like, I work all the time. I work 24/7, literally, even in toilets. I never go to the regular toilet. I go to the I never go to sleep in last few years. I never went to bed. I always drop to sleep. I never go to sleep, like literally, just do not. So I'm the founder of company My Lunch Shop. It is kind of a future McDonald's. So when you order food from Uber Eats, it has 5,000 delivery. I can do the same job in 50 deliveries. So again, less traffic, 100 times more effectivity, and everything else. Second project is My Ride, which is under development. The first project is live. So you can buy food in Poland, in Warsaw. It is already working. My Ride is a product that I tried to develop. I failed a few times, already 3 times, but only because that I always put my own capital. And it's hard to find really the best guy with your own money when you have so many things. The third project I have is a book table. It's like I just want to make it simple because before I go anywhere, I want to reserve a place so that I don't waste the time. So it's this. But on the other side, I'm the head of Operation Consensus Poland. That's my full-time job. So I earn every money here and I spend every money on my projects. So for My Ride, my short sentences, it's like a ride share and a car share. Easy service. You save the planet, you have less cars. And not only that you have less traffic and this, but imagine when you live, let's say, in the countryside of a city. So you have only one bus every hour. And when I'm sitting on the bus stand, I see in 1 minute 100 cars passing by. And there are some aliens in the different planet laughing on us that why these two guys don't talk to each other. But we are kind of idiots, right? That we don't talk to each other. So trying to solve this problem, and I think Nicole is helping me to get more connections. So thank you for this short time. Thank you. Cheers.
So Guillaume, can you just, closing
just
notes?
to wrap it up and to, I apologize for rushing you up, but we have a very tight schedule here, so that's why I'm asking you to wrap that up quickly. It's too bad because I wanted to hear more about your project, but maybe we can have a chat. We are here. I'm not sure if you come ready from India because I see Consensus Poland, so maybe you are based in Poland. Okay, so you can come here and we can have a talk. Just to wrap it up, we are very pleased to welcome you here. Energy 2050 has been involved at many levels in the promotion of renewable energy infrastructure, policy level, implementation of projects at European, in Europe, in Africa. So we are very pleased to hear other stories, other situations in Brazil, in Singapore, I think. So thank you very much. And we hope to see you next year with more good news. Thanks.
Thank you, Guillaume, for the opportunity. Thank you.